Okay, this is a video to answer a question that Corey sent me, and I'm really glad we're starting to get the questions because it's really important because this stuff can shut you down. And that is a question: is what is a line of action? So I went through the internet, and this is from this guy Bennett, who's an amazing photographer, Robert Bennett, and you can see we have this. That's a line of action. See it? Bam, line of action. So when you're doing the line of action, think of it as energy. So if I were to take, let's say, this here, this green could be the line of action. Like, wow, bam, that represents it to me. So that's a line of action. I could add a warm to it, and that adds to the line of action. See, I can then take a cool and throw it there, and that adds to the line of action. How often does this really exist? Not much. You need to find a really amazing animator, which I have worked with and I've worked for, to get that character to fit within this pose. The other thing is you need a pose that is really just one line. Most poses are going to have a lot of extra other lines to it. So what I want to do is I'm going to demonstrate for you. That's your general line of action, which is a general story, which is one energy push. So a definition would be, let's say we can do a person throwing a ball. And if we can get a line from the hand all the way to the foot, you know, get that push, that could be looked at as a line of action. But it's just going to be the primary line of action. So you can think of it as, you know, the line of action starring this, but then there's going to be co-stars, and then there's going to be extras, all pushing the same line of action. So let's go here. So here's going to be pit of the neck, sternum, navel, pubic arch. So we got some landmarks. And I can go right to finish from here. Here's the shoulder. So that's the line of action for the upper arm. Line of action for the lower arm. Line of action for the hand. Line of action for the finger. Now, where did this come from? Let's get down to business, okay? The term's going to be called abstract. Before 1960, going all the way back to, let's say, mid-Renaissance, if you took art class, if you went to art school, you can pretty much rest assured that you're all going to get the same education on the fundamentals, okay? And it was good, because then you can take and do what you want with it. You know, you can, you know, the Renaissance, you can do portraits, or you can, you know, draw people hanging around on crosses, or, you know, let everybody know you're a virgin, but you still have a baby. I mean, you can do whatever you want, you know, and tell the stories of the day. But those stories had a reason, and they were clear and clean, and they guided the viewer's eye, and line of action exists. So if you have a person like doing a Renaissance, they're going like this, like, oh my God, look. And then another one goes, yeah. And the other one goes, but over there. And the other one goes, what? And they go, look up there. And the other one's looking down. And, you know, those are all done with lines of action. And then add to that. What happened then is around 1960, you've got a change. What'd you get? Sex and drugs and rock and roll, right? Things got really fun. I mean, it was really fun. I was born in 1960, so of course I wasn't in art school, but you know, I can remember around 1966, maybe about 6 years old, 7 years. Yeah, I can still remember back then. You know, you'd have like an elephant, you know, painting, or a chimpanzee, or they would be throwing paint all over the place. And you got this modern art graphic abstract. Now, that's important because if I were to take this and break down into little pieces, this, if I were to look at this as just a painting, this part, that would be an abstract. But this was taken very far and it was protected. Now, when those people graduated, how are they going to get a job working on 101 Dalmatians, let's say? Very complex backgrounds, environments, extremely complex characters because you're drawing 101 different dogs, all fitting together as quadrupeds with bipeds. How are you going to do Jungle Book, you know, and animate, you know, a orangutan dancing, you know, singing "I Want to Be Like You"? You're not. I mean, you can walk in there and say, hey, you know, here's my abstract and here's my modern art. They might use it as a color key or, you know, the general feeling of the movie, but you're certainly not going to be doing cleanup, and that's where most of the jobs were, where you have to do the final drawing. So, where did those people get jobs? Well, they got jobs teaching, and they became very protective over their jobs for good reason. Now, they were important at those universities, because remember, everything in the end is abstract. But they left some stuff out. Anatomy, drawing, construction, gesture, you know, how to put it together, how to make it all work. So those, you know, that still existed. I always, you know, got along with everybody because I understood the value of it, but there was a lot of fighting going on between those departments. So there you go. Line of action. Line of action's always been around. Was it used in animation? Of course, because in animation, so the basic part of the story is, if you wanted to get that classic education, where did you go? Well, you went into the animation department because they were teaching what they needed, you know, what the major studios were looking for, which is to be able to draw these really difficult characters. So that's why the line of action moved over to the animation area. It wasn't because they were trying to be animators, since they were trying to get that core fundamental stuff, and it was used all the time in animation. So does that make sense? So to answer your guys' question, you're both right. It is used in animation because animation is pure drawing. It represents the Renaissance because the Renaissance is the same drawing. It represents classic drawing because it's the same drawing. Do you need the abstract? Yes, but you also need it with the classic. So I hope that helps you guys. So if you notice, this is the line of action for the latissimus dorsi. This is the line of action for the breast. This is the line of action for the other breast. This is the line of action for the rib cage. Boom. This is the line of action for the rectus abdominis. This is the line of action for the external oblique. This is the line of action for the iliac crest. This is the line of action for the mid part, the center part of the rectus abdominis muscle. This is the line of action for the tensor. This is the line of action for the Starbucks muscle, the tensor fasciae latae. This is the line of action for the femoris triangle. This is the line of action for the quadriceps. This is the line of action for your calf, gastrocnemius. And the more you add, the more you get the line of action. So it would be like saying a tone. Ta-da! Okay, that's it. Now we do it with a band. Ta-da! It's got more fulled out. Now it has a guitar, and it's got a keyboard, and it's got a drummer. Now we add ta-da, but there's an orchestra behind it. So you've got this very full, 100+ instruments, but it's the same tone. Ta-da! Then you add behind there a choir, you see, and then it goes ta-da, and then you put in front of it dancers who, will say ta-da, and that's your line of action. Each one of those is a line of action. It is the primary action, the primary energy. I hope that helps. The great animators, the ones I have had the joy of working with, and many of which are not around today, they would just try to get that one major tone. Okay, so let me tell Corey that this video exists. We'll get it out there for you guys. We'll put it in front of the other videos so you got it. Okay, see you soon.